Hi everyone, I'm Ruben Lopez. I'm one of the founding members of Eat Spanish. Thank you for coming to Exploring Regional Flavors with Georgia Bateman. Tonight we are very lucky. We are counting with all these amazing members of Eat Spanish from different parts of Australia. But especially we are very lucky because we are counting with a VIP guest, food PR, recipe writer and developer, and the founder of Georgia Bateman Agency. Thank you very much, Georgian, for being here. Welcome.
Hi, nice to see you all. Thanks for having me.
So this chat started with the idea of trying to showcase the diversity of Spanish gastronomy with all of you in Australia and around the world. And we're gonna do it super casual, like if it was like a chat with friends. Georgia's gonna be the host as well. So Georgia, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a bit more about your different regions in Spain. Like I'm absolutely obsessed with Spanish food and I always have, and I've traveled all over Spain and I'm always looking for the best dish and like trying to find a new dish. And I feel like every single region, you might even use the same ingredients, but you'll be like, no, it's completely different. My tortilla is made by like this and da 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 da. And I love the passion of the Spanish cooking. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about you guys and what you can tell us in Australia about your region and where you're from. Maybe Kim, how about you? Are you happy to start? Maybe you could tell me a bit about yourself and your background and where you're from and how you find Spanish food in Australia. If there's a specific dish from your region that you'd like to bring here.
Georgia, good afternoon. I'm Kim Hernandez. I'm from Barcelona, and I'm a cook for many years. I'm managing now a big restaurant in Rondes Island as executive chef, and I am one of the founder members of Eat Spanish as well. You want to see or to talk about Catalonian food? As you know, Catalonia is in the northeast of Spain, and we are in a region where is a lot of people pass around during the many years in our history. We have traditional, very old traditional food, and we have a very new gastronomy in the top of the tops. And as you say before, no matter we are from one area or one region or another region, our tortilla is better than you, another region tortilla, which is not true. Basically, it's different. Look, in Catalonia, for example, we have a very traditional, something very traditional, which is pan con tomate, which is a piece of bread grated with a bit of tomato, basically salt and olive oil. And some people like the garlic and they put garlic. Some people like toasted. Some people doesn't like toasted. What is the difference? The only thing you need to do this to do any food is quality ingredients, passion for what we are doing, and be hungry. As you know as well, in Catalonia we have a lot of different styles. There's a lot of French influences as well. French influences, Roman, Italian influences as well. We have one of the most typical dishes in Catalonia. In Australia, it will be the surf and turf. We cook a lot of chicken.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
We cook chicken with prawns, chicken with scampi, lobster with chicken as well. We do meatballs, pork or beef meatballs with cuttlefish or calamari. We stuff the calamari. We cook with chocolate as well, and Valencian French influences from traditional French cuisine. We have as well another big flavor comes from one of the bases of our cuisine, which is the sofrito. Without the sofrito, without the mix of onion, garlic, tomato, basically, plus if you want to add some capsicums, without this, we don't have cuisine, basically.
Yeah, the sofrito is the base of so many dishes, isn't it?
Yeah, I think not only in Catalonia, it's around Spain. A very traditional dish, which is a fricandó. Fricandó is a veal, it's sliced very thin. We make I use the onion, I poach the onion very slowly with olive oil. We don't use butter, basically. Okay, some parts in the north of some recipes, yes, but we don't use butter. We use olive oil. We put the onion with olive oil very slowly. We add some garlic, and then I don't know why, but in my family they add in this kind of sofrito a very small cut ham, Iberico ham, there, and then we get the veal, sorry, salt, pepper, a little bit of flour, fry in olive oil, keep it on the side to take out all the oil out of the meat. And then we add in this sofrito we add the meat on there, and we add chicken broth.
Nice.
And then I make some, it's a small mushrooms in Catalonia we say carreretas called cenderuelas in Spanish. I don't know in English the name. It's a small dry mushrooms. We keep it on hot water to rehydrate it, and then strain it. I use a little bit of oil in a pan, and I saute the mushrooms, and I add on this stew, and slowly it's cooking very slow on the corner of the grill. And then at the end we add the picada. Why we add the picada is to make it a bit of a starch and to make it thick. In Catalonia you use almonds, garlic, parsley, and olive oil, and a little bit of a bread toast. Here I change the almonds for bunya bunya. The bunya bunya, as all of you know, is a huge, massive nut, but is raw, and I need to toast it. And then what I'm doing is I'm slicing the bunya bunya, and I toasted the bunya bunya in the oven until have some not dry everything, but more dry, not fresh. And then I smash it with a pestle and mortar. I add some parsley, olive oil, and I add this one on the fricando. The change is huge because the bunya bunya flavors are really more intense than not more intense. They are more sweet than almond.
Yeah, they almost are a bit kind of hazelnutty, aren't they? Bunya bunya.
It's a hazelnut or a little bit of water chestnut sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then it's very difficult to smash it until a puree or powder. And then always left some pieces, and then you bite at these pieces, and it's amazing in your mouth. It's a recipe of a Spanish traditional Catalan food, changed to Australian.
I wonder what your family will think if you take it home. I wonder what they would think if they tried it.
I don't know if they
if they'd accept it.
No, look, I think all of us in Spain, we are very open to the flavors and to every single aroma, and we are very open to change the recipes and see what happens.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Georgia, for the time.
Thanks. And what about Claudia? How are you doing?
Hello, Georgia. Good afternoon.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I know that you work in a restaurant in Brisbane. Which Spanish restaurant's that?
It's called Ole Restaurant. Yeah, and it's a Spanish restaurant. I just took over the kitchen a few months ago.
Oh yeah.
And like all of the whole situation of COVID and not being able to go to Spain and see my family and my culture, because I've been living in Australia for 3 years. It's not that long, but I've tried at least once a year to go to Spain and spend a few weeks there. See my family and all of that. After COVID, I'm just like, well, if I cannot go there, I just try to bring a little bit of my culture here.
Yeah.
And that's how it happens.
And you've worked at some amazing restaurants, haven't you?
I work with really good chefs. I'm just a cook yet. That's how I like to describe myself. Like chefs are like those great, amazing chefs, and I'm just a cook yet.
Can you share a few of the restaurants that you've worked at?
That was in Basque Country for Martin Berasategui. I was there about 9 months. I went there for 3 months and I just loved it so much, and I had some money in my account, so it just take a bit longer. just explore a little bit my country. And that's amazing. Yeah. So I just like, well, moving around, and as long as I could, like get my nose into those kitchens with such a great, like, just not only the chef that has the name of the restaurant, is as well who works for them, you know, like, because it's not just about one chef, it's about the whole team. And I just I'm pretty lucky to have been able to work with such a great professionals and humans, and because it's just about passion. It's Martin Berazategui or Paco Perez or David Muñoz, just with the actual team behind those kitchens. That was really, really good. And different cuisines, different styles, still Mediterranean food, Spanish, but it's different, like what Kim was saying. So it's in one, just I love that from Spain, that in just one country is so many different products and cuisines. So it's nice.
Yeah. So you're from Madrid. Is there a particular dish that you would say Madrid is most famous for, or your favorite dish maybe that you've brought to your menu here in Brisbane? That this is the one, like, you know, I could not live without this dish, you know?
Like my favorite dish is the cocido madrileño, which is like a soup. I was gonna talk about the callos, which are like tribes in all of the zero waste ideology or philosophy that we all have in Spain. Is like, you kill an animal, you eat the whole animal, like something that my grandma makes amazingly. So the ingredients will be the tribes, the mouth, the hands, the bones of jamon, and then just put some bay leaves on it, garlic, the whole garlic. After cooking them for like an hour, 2 hours, we take off the bones, and we'll take the bones of the actual leg of the beef, because we will eat that. We'll eat the leg, which I don't think in Australia they will be very keen to it. And then we get, after that, the sofrito inside, the morcilla and the chorizo, and keep cooking it for another like half an hour to release all of the flavors. And that's pretty much, and it's like a long time cooking, very intense flavors. Paprika, sorry. Paprika.
Very important.
Paprika.
Sure.
I cooked them, I think, once with her, so I'm not like specialized of cooking it, but that was her thing. You wouldn't interrupt her, and she will just make the callos and get them all like sliced, because it's once it's hot, it's soupy, or when it's cold, it's like all the collagen and from all of these parts of the ingredients, you can just like slice the collagen with a knife, and then she will just slice them and put them into takeaway containers for all the family. The most important thing for this plate, and that's where I helped my grandma, was washing the actual tribes, like really wash them under water, like for hours, to make sure that they get really, really clean, as they are not like the cleanest part of a cow, obviously.
The most famous dishes are the ones that were like peasant food, aren't they? Like
exactly. Exactly. And well, my from my mom's side, they were all butchers, so they will eat everything.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing. I feel like that's a dish that many people would never have heard of or even think about eating, you know. And as you described, it sounds crazy, but I can imagine the flavors. And I remember going to a restaurant in Barcelona, and it was like everything was, you know, tripe and, you know, all these crazy things that in England would never eat, you know. And it was like, oh, do I eat this? But yeah, it's really interesting flavor, and it's delicious.
I just want to like to talk about something that maybe is not very common, and to just bring it a little bit to open mind. That it's like, I feel like if you like, it's zero waste. Bye, thank you.
And hi, Glenn, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm very good, thank you. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. So yeah, my name's Glenn. I'm actually from New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
But so my perspective of Spanish cuisine comes from a different point. I guess I've never been a cook, a professional cook. I love cooking myself. That's probably thanks to Spain and the people there, because cooking is such a big part of their life, and every person, well, almost every person that I've known in Spain has taught me something about cooking and the way that they like food and the experience that they have. So I'm very thankful to Spain as a country and all of my friends and people that I know over there for teaching me the values around good cooking and good, not only the cooking, but the experiences that I have, you know, sort of with it. So I moved to Spain in 2008, and I arrived to Valladolid, or Valladolid as it's pronounced, in late November. And as you can imagine, I didn't know anything about Spain. I arrived to this place almost in the middle of winter, thinking that it was going to be like Benidorm, you know, 20, 25 degrees. And I get to Valladolid and it's about -5, and I don't have any pants with me. I've got just shorts and sneakers going down the city center of Valladolid. So as you can imagine, I guess the first experiences, apart from it being very cold, was the food around that season. So especially a lot of stews, a lot of legumes, you know, lentejas, things like this. Sopa de ajo is another sort of stew soup kind of dish with garlic, as you say, like exactly a very sort of cheap meal. So apart from that, I think the experiences as well in Valladolid are probably a place not so much known for its tapas and pinchos, but around the city center, it's very, very good. So I was very lucky because I went over to play in like semi-professional sport. Rugby union was my sport over there. That's why I went over there originally. So I was very lucky to meet a lot of people in that regard. And a lot of them wanted to learn English from me. And so they would just take me out, and of course, for meals and you know, trying different wines and stuff. So I got to experience Valladolid in that regard, going, especially around the city center, trying different tapas and pinchos. That was something that was completely new to me. I especially loved around the Plaza Mayor of Valladolid. There's some beautiful places. You'd go to one place and they'd have the best croquetas in the city. That'd be like croquetas de bacalao. Then you'd go to the next place that'd have the best pork rinds of the city. Every place had one or two dishes that was their speciality, and you'd go for that and then move on to the next one. And I especially love that way of dining. And of course, after we would play a match as well, it was a weekly occurrence. We'd usually go to a restaurant as well as a team, and we would get stuck into the meats and the red wine, usually on a weekly occurrence. And especially, I would say my favorite meats in Valladolid, there was some fairly good chuleton places. So big chuleta, like a big steak, T-bone sort of steak, as well as on a special occurrence, we'd go to a lamb restaurant. So they call it lechazo in Valladolid, and that's but that was a special occasion because that was you're spending a bit more money to eat that. And apart from that, I think Valladolid has amazing food in itself, but the surrounding cities and neighborhoods as well. Every place has a special sort of thing that they're renowned for. So Segovia, I think you can get there in 50 minutes from Valladolid, and of course they have the cochinillo, which is the suckling pig. And you go to places like Leon and Burgos, again, different things in those regions. I love morcilla as well. So that was something that that was new to me. Blood sausage or blood pudding, Spanish one. So in Burgos, which is very close to Valladolid, they do a morcilla with rice. So the other morcilla I didn't really take to as much as the morcilla de Burgos, but and I think it was mentioned before that, you know, the Spanish love to use it, you know, every part of the animal, which took some getting used to as well. You would have ears, pigs trotters, callos as well. All these types of things I had to warm into. I didn't like them, you know, initially, but of course I sort of got a taste for it as well. And I think just to finish on that region was the red wine, because I love my red wine, and I actually had a lot of friends. I had one friend that had a small vineyard in the Toro region, and I just love the wine from that region because it reminds me of the red wine here in Australia. Actually, it's more full-bodied and strong. They call it, without sounding a bit sexist over in Spain, they call it the man's red wine, which is it's a very dark red wine that has a high alcohol content. So especially to have that with the meats in Castilla y Leon was especially very good. And then of course I'll just quickly touch on Galicia. So I never actually lived in Galicia, but my wife's from Galicia. So every time we go back now, we spend a lot of time in the Lugo region, in a village called Viveiro. And my experiences are a bit different. Basically, I have one person to thank for that, which is my mother-in-law. So mi suegra. Of course, we go to restaurants and experience the seafood as well. But why would you go to a restaurant or a place when you have the best cooking at your mother-in-law's, right? So she usually, before I go there, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks in advance, she sort of asks me, what do you want to eat when you're here? And you know, initially, perhaps when I didn't really have a good relationship or know her as well, I was, you know, nah, I'll just eat whatever. But now she insists, I just make a list for whatever you want. And of course I do now, because I love her cooking, and she makes very good almejas a la marinera, which is like a marinara sauce with clams. So I think the staple there is they cook with white wine, parsley, garlic, of course a lot of olive oil, and then I think you can't really say Galicia without mentioning all the seafood that goes in Galicia. You know, there is a vast range of other types of foods, like the empanadas are really amazing, probably the best pies are made in Galicia. The meat is really good there as well. I really like the meat, and it's very different to the meat that you would find in Castilla y Leon. But yeah, the seafood is just, I'm from New Zealand. I think we have very good seafood in New Zealand. Australia is very good as well, but I would say Galicia has the best seafood in the world. I've been to some other places as well, but it's just fantastic. And the variety of it is very vast, and it's very accessible. Like the price point of the seafood in Galicia isn't very expensive compared to here in Australia. If you want to have good seafood, you don't have to go to the best restaurant. I mean, you can just go to a chiringuito to have, you know, a ration of tamburiñas, which is my favorite. Pulpo, of course, is the typical one of Galicia, and
octopus.
So octopus. I mean, you can ask many different people how they like to cook their octopus and what they like to do with it, but the one I like is the traditional pulpo a feira, which is the feria octopus. It's usually on a bed of slightly thinned potatoes with a lot of like really good olive oil, slightly thinned octopus with paprika and like coarse salt on top. So yeah, I like the spicy paprika as well. Some people like the smoked on top, but I really like the spicy one. And that's washed down with a bit of Albarino white wine, which is typical of that region. So yeah, I think personally, as I go back to my first experience, like I went to Spain to live for 6 months, and I stayed for almost probably 10 years. And I think part of the reason for that, apart from meeting my wife, of course, was the food and the experiences that you have with the food. I think that was a huge factor in I guess making me want to stay in the country and not go anywhere else. And I think, yeah, it's just such a beautiful country. I'm really lucky to have known a lot of people from a lot of different regions. And as I said, I was like a sponge, right? Just soaking up all the knowledge and their ways of doing everything. So I consider myself very lucky, and yeah, I continue to. We eat a lot of Spanish food, even though we live here in Sydney, Australia. We of course eat staples of Spanish diet, tortilla, probably every 3 days. Cook the odd paella, but excuse me. So we continue to try to live as Spanish as possible here in Australia. So
amazing, thanks for sharing. Actually, what you were saying before was quite funny, how, you know, like a tapas bar crawl in Spain is completely different to what a bar crawl is in Australia. So there, it's like, you know, you go from bar to bar and you have like a copa de vino, or like, you know, a tiny beer or a tiny wine and like a little tapas, and you just sit and enjoy, and then you move to the next bar. And like, you know, quite often in bars, if you order a drink, you're given food straight away for free anyway. So it's just a completely different concept of drinking. It's not like you go out and, you know, drink, you know, huge schooners or whatever, and then move to the next bar and keep drinking and forget to eat. It's like the complete opposite. The bar crawls all based around the food, and then the drink is like the extra. Yeah. So yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Glenn. Nice to meet you.
No problem. Thank you.
And who's next? Paz, how are you? From La Rioja, my favorite wine. And I understand you're actually from a family of winemakers.
Yeah, Palacios makers.
Yeah, amazing.
So yeah, it's just, I mean, it will be, I don't want to get into the full family because there's a lot to talk about that. My father was the pioneer in there. He was one of the first not winemaker but enologist in Spain. In the year he was studying, or one of the best student, or the best student of the year was Hardish from South Australia in the 75. So yeah, pretty much. Then he was the one who made all my other uncles to get out of Rioja, and the first one was Alvaro, then was my uncle Rafa, and then my cousins. So yeah, they have been known all over the place, and yeah, the moral of my dad was that he'd rather get us out of town to see the world and explore about it, and that's what we did. Yeah. So that's the reason why I'm here in Australia right now, more or less.
Amazing. Yeah. And so, what about in terms of food from your region? Is there any dishes that you are just crazy about and you can't wait to go home and eat, or you always cook for your family? Or
I mean, to be fair, back at home is, I mean, I don't have my favorite dish is not the one that I'm talking about, which is the patatas a la riojana. That is the most common dish we will have, but people doesn't know that much about it.
So what is it?
But you gotta understand that, whereas my mom is from San Sebastian, my dad is from La Rioja, but my mom also had her mother coming from Malaga. So we have a heavy lot of different ones, we have a lot of different dishes we love at home. It can go from bacalao a la bilbaína, which is cod fish. No, vizcaíno, not bilbaína, sorry. Which is from Donostia, from San Sebastian, and then ajo arriero will be another one of our favorite. And then we can go to the salmorejo, which is from the south, and then we could go from the menestra de verdura, which is what we have in the Ribera of Ebro.
Can you, Pat, can you go back to the patatas al importancia? Where are they?
Ah, no, al matate no, a la riojana.
La riojana, perdona.
So this
Okay,
is this a very simple dish then? Lessing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, you think chorizo will be is not the heaviest amount. You just like what we call it, 1 or 2 sausages, and then you use the potatoes, and then it's olive oil, garlic, onion, and paprika.
Ya está.
That's it. But what I have to tell about that is,
can you tell me, is this in a pot with water and like it's a stew or
stock? Just a little bit of stock. Yeah, you have to cook in there. It's just stew.
All right, shall we move on? Okay, Javier, from Canary Islands.
Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, really good. So what, tell me a bit about yourself and your region and the cooking from your area.
Yeah, okay, I'm from the Canary Islands. You know, it's an archipelago of 7 islands. It's very close to Morocco in the Atlantic Ocean. And each island has different recipes. The most important thing about the Canary Islands is the volcanic soil. So this gives to the produce a different and unique taste. So everything is really nice there. You should go there to try everything. So there are plenty of famous dishes, but today I think I should name 3 of them because they are the most iconic ones. One is the mojo picón or mojo rojo. Okay, it's the most famous Canarian sauce. So you can do also a green mojo, okay, with coriander or green pepper. But the most famous one is the mojo rojo, is with the red pepper. And this kind of sauce, every family has its own recipe. So there are as many recipes as families in the Canary Islands, and everyone say that his recipe is the best. But the main ingredients of the recipe is cumin, the red pepper, garlic, vinegar, extra virgin olive oil, you know, and you have to green everything. A lot of people prefer the mojo more smooth, you know, and more like a cream. Other people prefer, you know, like less smooth, like more, I don't know the word, yeah, more, not crunchy, but, you know, you can feel, you know, all the ingredients. And this sauce, normally you can add it to any dish, fish, seafood, meat, or the famous papas arrugadas. That is the second dish that I want to talk about because it's really famous. As you know, the Canary Islands has been, you know, for centuries, like the crossroad from Europe to America. So we have a lot of influence from America. And in the Canary Islands, the papas are really tasty because of what I told you before, because of the volcanic soils. So there is a very famous variety in Tenerife. It's called papa negra, yema de huevo. It's like the translation is like the black, it's a small black potato, and it's called like the inside is really, really yellow. So it's they call it like yolk, you know, like it was a yolk from the
egg yolk.
You know? Yes, egg yolk. So this is a very expensive potato, and it has been very popular across the fine dining restaurants, you know, a lot of people, also in Japanese restaurants, they are using a lot. The most common recipe to prepare the papas arrugadas is really easy. You don't have to peel them, so you only have to clean them, and you put the potatoes in a pot, and you put water, you fill it with water until half of the potatoes. Not to cover all the potatoes, only until half. And you use a lot of salt, rock salt or normal salt. Traditionally, originally in the past, people use salt, seawater, but now it's more common to use tap water, a lot of salt. Don't be shy with salt. You can put a lot of salt, okay? So then you start boiling the potatoes. Normally, it's like between 20 and 30 minutes, 25 minutes. You can, you know, you can take a potato and drop the potato on the bench top, and if it breaks, it is already done. Or you can use a toothpick and you know where is almost done. One is done. What you have to do is drain the water, remove all the water, and take the pot back to the stove and dry all the potatoes, with the heat. So what you get with this is like crust, salt crust around all the potato, and you eat the whole potato with the skin. Okay, and these potatoes are traditionally eaten with the mojo. You can use the coriander mojo, the mojo rojo, or the mojo verde, the green mojo. And normally all the potatoes are used like a side for any fish, for any seafood, for meat, So and what else? I also want to talk about it's a weird ingredient that not a lot of people are familiarized with it. It's called gofio.
What's it called?
Gofio.
Gofio.
Gofio. Gofia.
Okay.
Gofio. Oh, sorry. Gofio. Gofio. So gofio is a kind of flour. It's like a mix of different kind of toasted grains and cereals, like corn or wheat. And this is really popular since centuries. It was like the one of the main food for the Aboriginal people, for the Wanches, and when we were kids, I don't know if you are familiarized with colacao or Nesquik.
Yeah, I love lacao. Lacao is like my favorite drink.
Colacao?
Lacao.
No.
Lacao? It's like Nesquik. It's like
a
chocolate drink. Like cold chocolate. It's like chocolate milk.
Yeah, totally. So normally it's common, all the kids in Spain drinks in the morning during the breakfast leche con colacao or leche con Nesquik. But in the Canary Islands, we used to drink leche con gofio, and all our grandparents always say you have to drink 1 glass of leche con gofio every day because it's like a kind of superfood because it has a lot of minerals, nutrients, and it gives you a lot of energy. So normally is you can eat it with milk and mix it with milk and maybe a little bit of sugar or honey. But there is a recipe that I love a lot, and it's called escaldón de gofio. Escaldón, and it's just to mix the gofio, the flour, with a really good broth or a stock. So the better the broth is, the better the escaldón is. So for example, if you have very tasty broth of fish or seafood or meat, it depends on the recipe that you're gonna make. You only have to use like a bowl, like green or chop very, very finely the garlic and mix it with olive oil. And then you put the flour, and little by little you add the boiling broth and start stirring until you get like a thick paste. And when you see that all the flour is hydrated with the broth, is almost done. And then you can add chopped onions. So you have the garlic, the extra virgin olive oil, the broth, the flour, also the gofio, I mean. And then you add onions, and you mix everything, and you can eat it like a side, or also if you want to put more broth, and you can have like the thick paste and surrounded by broth, and you can eat it like with a spoon as well, like broth and the thick paste is the whole gofio. And I always add 2 different ingredients to that dish that it goes very well. One is smoked goat cheese, because we have a really good cheeses in the Canary Islands, and also really good wines. So I normally, when I do the escaldón to eat or to share with the family, because normally you share it with around a table with a lot of people, and everyone take a spoon and eat it. I normally add the cheese, and also like crispy, it's like pork belly, crispy pork belly, like chunks of pork belly, or the pork jaw, or crunchy pork jaw. So and then I was going to forget the most important thing. To eat the escaldón de gofio, you have to drizzle on the top mojo rojo, or coriander mojo or mojo verde, you know, and then it's really, really nice, you know, to eat it with a fish or seafood or meat. Yeah.
That just sounds incredible. Thank you so much.
No, you're
I've
welcome.
got some friends in the Canary Islands at the moment, and I'm just so jealous.
really?
Hearing you talk about the food now, I'm like, oh, we've got to go to Spain.
Yeah.
So at least, you know, once we can at least travel a bit more in Australia, we should all just find a place to meet and everyone bring a dish, your favorite dish, and then we go to Spain.
Totally.
So,
Why
yeah.
not?
So now, you know, you're taking me on a journey through the food, which is delicious. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Lovely to meet you.
You too. And Anna, how are you doing? I hear you are the winner of, what was it? The tapas.
The first tapas contest in Australia.
Yeah, amazing. What was it? A mussel escabeche?
Escabeche mussels, but the escabeche is the style of the tin mussels instead of the other one that has like more bits of onions, like orange. So it's slightly different escabeche base. Yeah, very happy.
Oh my god! And is this a typical dish from where you're from? You're from Andalusia, yeah?
Yeah, I'm from a little town called Baños de la Encina. It's in Jaén, just in the center of Andalusia, on the interior. And
what's it called? The town?
Baños de la Encina. It's the most beautiful town that you will ever see.
Yeah.
I don't say it, my mom. It's gonna tell me something. So yeah, escabeche is a very traditional Andalusian preparation, but it comes not for Andalusian, but from Andalusi gastronomy, which is the influence of Arabs when they were in the peninsula. And we have a lot of in the south. We could make like two different of gastronomy. The Andalusian is Mediterranean, and then more like national. And then we have the Andalusi. The Andalusi is like all the influence from the Mediterranean and mostly the Arabs.
Yeah.
And it's very, very delicious. Andalusia is the second biggest, how do you say, state in Spain. And it has 8 different provinces, 5 of them are coastal. So there is mountains, valleys. So you could just imagine how rich is our gastronomy towards fish, seafood, charcuteries, like salt fish. I could start now and never end.
I know, and tuna is quite in the south is quite famous for tuna, isn't it? And for fried fish as well. I remember 2 years ago I travelled all around Andalusia, and it was crazy. Fried fish everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, it's very, very good. We are lucky that we had the Atlantic and the Mediterranean. So we're going to the ocean and sea meets. There is very strong torrents, and that is like where tuna is caught usually. Almadraba is called. And yeah, we have like plenty of dishes with tuna. My favorite one actually is mojama. Mojama would be like a jamon made of tuna.
So it's like it's a dry cured tuna, isn't it? It's incredible. I love it. Yeah.
The fish version of jamon, it's delicious. Just with some fried almonds, a little bit of olive oil, and a very cold beer. Just short. You don't want anything else. Then we have a lot of dishes that comes from hunting, like deer, poultry, like game, kind of partridge. And in my area, it's a very, very common. And I will talk to you about escabeche. Escabeche for me is the favorite one. It has the sweet, the sour, the oil from Jaén. Jaén is the biggest producer of olive oil in the world. And until I started cooking, for example, for me, I didn't know about all the types of oil or all the types of olive oil. For all this extra virgin olive oil since I was born. There is nothing lower than that. It was like, why would you eat that? Or why would you make that when you have this delicious product? And yeah, we make like next to my town, there is a place called La Carolina that is just on the border with Castilla-La Mancha. And they make like an absolutely beautiful escabeche partridge pate. And it's not coming from the French side, it comes from the medieval. I mean, the medieval, it was very common, those fairs that were doing like pates, terrines, and stuffed animal, like massive, but here's a little bit more refined. And yeah, basically you just do, it has like what a pate would have, like meat that is cooked and is pure, And in this case, it's cabbage partridge. That you pick the meat, you put some mushroom, you blend it with liver, and then you just like cook it in your oven like any other pate, and you cover with fat or olive oil or pork fat. That is the usual that we have, and just eat it with some sliced toast bread, more olive oil, because why not? We had the best one. Just make sure that you have enough and don't drip it on your shirt.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite snacks. You have it all year round, and it's very easy to share with your friends, with your family. Set up tapas. Tapas for me is a lifestyle. It's not something that I had learned as a chef or traveling. I come from the land of tapas.
Yeah, yeah.
Very casual. Our culture towards gastronomy is sharing. Sharing. It has become popular with tapas, but for us, it's like with your friends, with your neighbors, with your family. You don't cook a huge meal of a main dish and dessert and starter. You make a lot of small dishes and you start snacking, picoteo or tapeo, that we call it. And it's complete tapas from that. So yeah, very, very lucky to have that.
This is my favorite way of eating too. So yeah.
You get the chance to try more things. It's very affordable.
Exactly. You get to eat more.
And since it's small portions, nobody's controlling, oh, I have eaten already this much, and nobody knows. It's the small pieces.
Yeah, exactly. This is the secret to success. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Anna. And so you actually cook for a Chinese restaurant now, don't you? Yeah. And do you find that there's any Spanish influence on your menu? Have you managed to squeeze anything in, or have you learned anything from your cooking that you're now combining to make a fusion Spanish dishes at all?
Well, my pantry now is huge, I have to say, at home, because I'm discovering a lot of new ingredients and towards the spices and like soys, vinegar. And yeah, my home cooking has increased a lot towards fusion. And at the restaurant, like slowly, until one day you will see jamón ibérico.
Suddenly it will be a Spanish restaurant. You just slowly.
I'm gonna start with olive oil. I'm using Spanish ingredients because I love to use ingredients. And for me, I think any gastronomy, it doesn't matter from what it is. The origin is about ingredients. That is what it makes special, those flavors. So fusion, as I put things together for the sake of, no, but fusion as an evolution of culture, you can nurture towards gastronomy, another culture, another ingredients. So you're a professional of the industry, you should be able to bring new dishes or new flavors to your customer, like offering the best.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing, Anna. It was lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you, Georgia. Thank you.
Thanks. And Jorge from Valencia. So obviously we all know that paella is the most famous dish from Valencia, or like, you know, the whole of Spain, but I'm sure there are some other secret dishes that maybe you think Valencia is more famous for, or should be famous for, I should say. No? That's it.
No, just
nothing else. You don't need anything else. It's just paella, yes, sir. Yeah.
If I could, I would. But because I know that everybody knows paella, I'm not going to talk about paella. Yeah. Even though I could talk forever, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not a cook. I'm just a customer experience manager in a company, working all my life as a digital marketer in advertising companies and content marketing agencies. And now I'm helping out Eat Spanish with all these like marketing kind of matters. But I love eating. Right? I love food. I love eating, and especially I love all the food that my grandma used to cook. And because she's alive, she still cooks. So basically, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna talk about because obviously paella is the most common dish per because rice. It will be probably the most common ingredient in Valencia. So we've got so many other dishes that probably are not as well known as the paella. So I'm gonna name maybe 3 of them. And then I'm going to talk about like a really important gastronomy culture that we got in Spain, apart from the tapas. So basically, starting for the rice, I would like to talk about what we call baked rice, which is arroz al horno. We call it in Spain, in Valencia. And basically, this is made with, we just prepare a stock with pork bones. and some veggies. And then we add some potato, blood sausage, morcilla, pork ribs, chickpeas, tomato, and garlic. And we put everything into a kind of a kind of recipient that I don't know exactly how to call it, but you put everything in there. It's like a kind of a deep kind of a recipient. You put everything. You put the stock in there. You put everything in there. You put the rice as well.
Yeah.
And then you put on top of the rice, you put all the potatoes, the tomato, the black sausage, the pork ribs, and everything. Put it in the oven and let it cook for, I don't know if it's like 17 minutes or so. And then you got an incredible rice. It is really difficult to do it good because for me, I mean, I'm not a cook, but everything that you put in the oven and you can't do anything more than wait.
Yeah.
That's a little bit dangerous, especially because this is a dry rice dish. So you have to make sure that you put in the right amount of stock at the right temperature to be cooked perfectly.
And so what was this dish called again?
Arroz al horno.
Al horno, yeah. Okay.
Al horno, yeah, it's like baked rice.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try and make it. I'm writing it down.
It is really difficult. I can tell you, I try a few times and I still cannot like make it properly.
Oh, okay.
My goal would be like arrive to the level of my grandma, but we are talking about like another level.
Yeah.
I can share the recipe with you if you like.
Yes, please.
I will.
Sí, por favor.
No problema. Apart from that one, there's another other kind of rice that is cooked as well. It's finished in the oven, and it's just typical from the south part of Valencia, and it's called arroz and costra. Arroz and costra, Costra.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, this is a rice dish that again is just made with some kind of beef or let's say like meat stock, and then you put some chicken, you put some rabbit, you put some sausage, chorizo. You can put some chickpeas as well. And again, depending the region where they're cooking it, they will add some things and they will like remove some things, but that will be the main ingredients. So you cook it. You can cook it on a paella dish if you want, right? So you cook it, and once it's almost done, you whisk egg and you put it on top.
Oh wow!
And then you put it in the oven.
Okay.
And then you finish the rice, but also it gets this whisk egg. It gets like crispy and crunchy, and that's the meaning of costra. Means that.
I was going to say, what does costra mean? It means crust.
Yeah, it's like a crust, correct.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Oh, nice. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I like that too.
That's pretty interesting.
2 recipes, please. Thank you.
I will send you that one as well. And then the last one, which is that's one of my another dish that my grandma used to cook like so many times, especially during winter, and it's so typical from Valencia. It's called arroz en fesols y naps, which is like rice with beans and what's nap? No? Turnip. Yeah, turnip. Correct. Turnip. That's it. So it's like rice. It's called rice with beans and turnip. And again, the base of this is a wet rice dish, and it comes with pork, with beef, with the turnip, with beans, with lots of veggies.
Yeah.
And you put everything in a massive pot, and you let it cook forever. And once the stock is really, really nice, then you add the rice in there. And then you pull out all the beef and all the pork and everything, kind of debone it. And you just put the veggies and the meat on a tray, in a separate tray. And then you serve the rice, which is again, is a kind of a wet rice. And then everybody serves what they want. So it's quite similar to the cocido. But the most important part is the turnip and the beans. That's really good for winter time. Delicious.
Yeah, that's interesting because I never think of turnips being in Spanish cooking at all because like they're very British, you know. Yeah. So
We use it in I mean, the only, at least in Valencia, the only kind of dish that I've seen that is kind of the main ingredient will be in that one. And again, I'm not a cook, obviously. I mean, my experience in terms of recipes is not that broad as the other guys, but in my experience, yeah, it's the only it's the only dish that has this turnip as in the name, right? As in like it's an important dish. As well, you are adding like black sausage as well because it gives like a really nice flavor. And those will be the three kind of rices dishes apart from the paella that are more typical from Valencia.
Oh, okay, amazing.
And then a short break for something really important that if you go to Valencia you have to do, and that's one of the this is the most important thing of any Valencian person, right? Which is called almuerzo, right? Almuerzo is like
breakfast.
No, it's like a brunch, but brunch is this kind of a modern kind of a way to say I'm eating something, but it's not breakfast and it's not lunch. Well, so almuerzo will be the popular way of doing a brunch, right?
Okay.
So brunch is this place that you go there. There's so many like nice things in there, and you just like really kind of it's not tapas as well. So almuerzo basically is a bocadillo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's it.
I like 11. It's an 11 o'clock mini sandwich.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, mini sandwich, I will say like a really big one, right?
Really? Okay.
You're really gonna do it in the proper way, the Valencian way.
Yeah.
You have to go to. There's so many bars around where you could see like so many trays with many ingredients, right? And basically, what you do is just you choose the ingredient that you want and you put it in the bread. The more things you add, the better.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
The more mix in there, the better, right? And then it's important. So when you sit on the bar, you will probably they will give you some peanuts and some like pickles, just to start with your beer while they're cooking your bocadillo. And then you finish your bocadillo, and that's another traditional thing of Valencia, which is called cremaet. And cremaet is a coffee, right? It's a coffee made with rum.
Yum! I've had this. Yeah.
You had it. So that's
but
the.
But you explain it. Yeah, it's just coffee
that's basically just a rum that you just heat up, and then you just kind of flame it.
Yeah. But is there another one, the same drink? It's got a different name then, like carajillo.
Carajillo, yeah.
Carajillo.
Carajillo is just typical from probably the whole Spain.
I had it in Barcelona, I remember, and I was awake all night.
Georgia, just listen to me. Cremaet.
Okay.
I will send you the recipe as well because it's really nice. But I'm gonna tell you how it is. So it's basically they use like sugar. It's important, like quite a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of rum.
Yeah.
And then you like heat it up, flame it.
Yeah.
And then you put some cinnamon, coffee, and a couple of grains of coffee as well.
Amazing.
And then just when they serve it to you, you will see like it's like 3 different layers. A little bit of a like kind of white thing for the sugar, then the alcohol, and then the coffee in there.
And you do in one?
That's up to you. That's up to you. It depends. It depends, I reckon, like how cold the weather it is. If it's really cold, maybe you will have it in one shot.
Yeah.
If not, you will be like sipping it up. Yeah. So those 3 things, like peanuts and pickles, the bocadillo, and the cremaet, will be the 3 steps of a perfect Valencian almuerzo.
And this is
then
11 a.m. This is brunch, of course.
Yeah. Of course.
Of course. Yeah. I'm going to have it at 9 a.m. I'll start earlier.
You can start like this. Look, all the tradies back in Valencia, they do it at 9.
Yeah. Great. I'm
9.
with them.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've never been to Valencia, and I lived in Barcelona. I've traveled across the north, across the south, like everywhere. I always go to spend so many summers in Mallorca, but never Valencia. And you have just sold it. I think as soon as I can, that's the first place I'm going to.
Can I tell you something? It is funny because I've been working in a restaurant as a restaurant manager for maybe like 3 years here in Australia. And I talked to so many Australian customers, and I can tell you that 90% of them, they have traveled all around Spain, but Valencia.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I don't know what happened with Valencia, but no one gonna go there. Or no one knows it. But seriously, you're
No,
missing
I know.
you're missing a beautiful city. That's I mean, it's not because it's my
Everyone
city.
told me I would fall in love with it. They said the architecture is incredible, and yeah, I have no idea how. I've never been there, but I will.
So well, exactly. We got time. We got time.
So
Hopefully.
much. Okay,
Oh,
that was
thank you so much, Georgia. Thank you.
And send me the recipes.
I will. I will. Don't you worry. Thank you.
Thank you. And Alba, nice to meet you from Extremadura.
Yes, so I'm actually first generation Australian. So
yeah, and also
yeah, born here.
The accent we've had tonight.
Yes, most people.
Great, mate.
Yeah, well, when they hear me speaking Spanish, I've got that twang, that Australian twang to it. Yeah. But mum's from Andalusia, dad's from Extremadura. So strangely enough, up until probably I was 17, I sort of felt like I was in the world of Spain. You know, going to the Spanish club doing flamenco, and mum would cook traditional Andalusian food. Dad would also put his things in there, and he would also tell me lots of stories. Obviously, I've traveled in Spain as well. My little niche here in Melbourne is I make chorizos, so natural chorizos. They're all fresh. And one of the things that sort of inspired me was mainly because dad's from Extremadura, and a lot of what we say embutidos, so cold meats and jamones and chorizos morcilla, all that sort of thing in Extremadura is it's great. It's a dry climate there, so it's perfect for, you know, hanging the jamones, and the paprika as well as is quite famous over in Extremadura. But being mainly a lot of agriculture goes on in Extremadura. And cuisine-wise, what I noticed is, which was interesting because it can get quite hot, but in the evenings can get really, really cold. And the cuisine, they sort of said, like, you know, they do cocidos as well. One that sort of stood out for me actually was gazpacho, which I always thought was from Andalusia, and I'm sure it's from many places in Spain, but they do one there that is a lot thicker as well. But la calderada de cabritos is like a goat stew, lamb stew. So they're prominent things that they had over in the land there. One of the things that did stand out when I was actually doing a little bit of research with Extremadura, and I was talking to Dad actually this afternoon, and I said to him, how is it that your family they're from Extremadura, they had sheep, that's what they did, and of course they cultivated things like cucumbers, tomatoes, capsicums, things like that, took it to the marketplaces and so forth, and Dad doesn't like meat. He'll eat it, but he's not keen. And when he does eat it, he wants it really, really well cooked. And so when I was looking at some of the recipes that, you know, I've put together and things like that, they're like stews. And so the meat is very well cooked, and a lot of them are slow cooked in an oven, wood fire oven, things like that. So it was really interesting for me growing up in Australia and having that background of Spanish food. We had tortilla, we had all the classics, all of what everybody has been talking about, I've grown up with. And mum, obviously she's a trade cook as well. So, and I've been in hospitality since I was 14. So both Spanish cuisine, Mexican, and all sorts of things. But I guess being part of Eat Spanish was interesting because I came on board for a couple of reasons, mainly because we want to steer away a little bit from the paella that everyone knows about, and to promote, you know, where the paprika comes from. A lot of these beautiful products that we do have, and a lot of beautiful products that we have here in Australia that's available to us that are seasonal. And the other one, to come to a lot of people that get us mixed up with the South Americans, with a lot of their cuisine. You know, you say Spanish speaking and they get us mixed up with the Mexican foods and things like that. So bringing it out there to the world in Australia, and sort of so that they can actually see what we're about. But Extremadura for me, I sort of touched on when I traveled over in Spain. I didn't do too much there. but definitely a place a bit like yourself now going to Valencia. Definitely a place where I will be traveling a fair bit next time I go over there. And the dishes that do come to fruition for me is mainly la calderata and a lot of the stews with the potatoes and the meats and things like that. And using paprika. Paprika seems to be a common thread right through Spain.
No, it's amazing. We don't really, it's the, yeah. I feel like it's not used in many other cultures actually, but in Spanish cooking, it's pretty nearly every dish has some kind of paprika like thrown in there.
Of some type, whether it's be smoked or
and the smoked
picante.
paprika just changes the flavor of the dish so much, doesn't it?
Yeah, the humble capsicum coming from the Americas. Yeah, thank the good old voyagers back in the days. But yeah, the smoked, they do a lot of the pimentón in Extremadura, and like I said, the temperatures over in Extremadura leads them to have, and it's a grassy sort of land as well, very arid. So that but they do a lot of pulses, like legumes. So that's why I always wondered, what is that like? He likes a lot of we say cocidos de habichuelas, or what we say beans, lentils, all those sort of things, and of course with chorizo, morcilla, and all the little bits and pieces that come from the animals, we just throw them in as well, and the jamón as well, without forgetting that part. So that influenced me with my chorizos, and my customers are always asking me about getting some recipes for chorizos, and also not using the chorizo as like that's your staple meal. It's always to flavor a food, or to use it in that way, shape or form. So
I'd love to try your chorizos. You're making me really hungry. So I'm gonna have to find my way to. It's Melbourne. You live. You're in Melbourne. Okay, Melbourne. I'll find a way to get there, and I will find you and eat.
All right.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, delicioso. Okay, and I think this is our last person. We've got Javier here, who's going to talk about Mallorca. But I just want to say, first of all, I've tried. Javier has a tortilla business, and I know that you're not allowed to say this, but I think this is actually the best Spanish tortilla I've ever had in my life. I'm absolutely obsessed with them, and I could eat them every single day. They're so delicious. And what I've realized is tortilla is a Spanish omelette, so it's like, I'll let Javier, he can explain a bit more.
Well, hello everyone. Well, thank you, Georgia, first of all. I know you tried my tortilla, and thank you for the compliments. It is the best one that you have, probably because you haven't tried that many. No, I'm joking.
I tried many. The thing is, what I think people don't realize is it's the fact that it's not cooked in the middle. It is, but it's kind of runny in the middle. And most people be like, oh, it's not cooked through, but this is what makes the tortillas so magic and delicious and special. So
yes.
That maybe because there is a big Spanish culture in Australia, but not as big as, I don't know, as Europe or Spain, obviously. So
of course, yes.
Sorry,
yes.
Spanish tortilla in Australia.
Sorry to jump in, but Javier, that's a big compliment, because I reckon you are the first person in the world who is cooking the best tortilla in the world, and it is not a grandma or a mom.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you. Well, yeah, that's. I think tortilla. Talking just about tortilla, I like to talk about Mallorca, but just to talk about the tortilla, is the dish that every Spanish is really attached to it and think that there is the best, or their moms or grandmas is the best, as Jorge is saying. So that's my case. I've been obsessed with it. I grew up eating almuerzo, how Jorge was saying, the mid-morning bocadillo, the tortilla, pretty much every day of my life. And that was the dish that I was obsessed. But funny enough, I didn't cook it until I was 22, 23 years old. And I got obsessed and loved the fact of cooking it, and find the right way of how the difference of cooking the potato this way or the other way will completely change. So yeah, I decided to jump in and create a business just based on the tortillas here in Byron Bay. So yeah, but yeah, that's me, and it's been a year already, and it's been amazing.
We have to move to Byron Bay, all of us.
Yeah.
Everyone.
And then can we all just have a big giant dinner party? That'd be great.
That's it.
Let's start at almuerzo. So we start at breakfast
In the morning.
with Jorge and then move through it all. Yeah.
With a vermouth, and then.
Yeah.
That's the way.
And so, yes, tell us a bit about Mallorca, the cooking in Mallorca. This is where you're from.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, I'm from Mallorca. For the ones that not familiar with, is one of the Balearic Islands. These 4 little islands that are in the Mediterranean, off the coast from the east coast, off the coast from Barcelona. So these Balearic Islands, of course, cuisine is big influence is the Mediterranean Sea. We are surrounded by it, and yeah, all sort of fish and seafood dishes that we can imagine, all really simple, following Mediterranean cuisine, all cooked very simple with, olive oil, of course, a bit of paprika here, vegetables. But funny enough, the most popular dishes I would say are from inland, the more traditional, the more famous ones. They come from inland, either from vegetables, people having their veggie garden back in the day at home, or from farming, so animals. And yeah, so probably the number one dish, I want to mention 3 or 4. The number one dish is the frito Mallorquin, which means translated will be fried, but it's basically pan-fried animal organs. In this case will be lamb organs, so basically heart, lungs, and liver. They all fried, and as any Spanish dish will have, of course, potatoes. It will have red capsicum, and this one it has some parsley and what's in Ojo? I forgot. Fennel leaves. So that's the distinctive flavor of the frito Mallorquin. Of course, garlic. Sorry, I forgot about that one. But it will have the garlic and the fennel leaves. That's the distinctive. And that's probably a dish that has been in the Mallorcan cuisine since the 14th century or something like that. So it's really, really, really old. And that's a dish that you will find in every single home in Spain. My mom, my grandma, everyone will be cooking. Every single bar, when you go for a tapa or aperitivo, it'll be there, of course. And yeah, that's the number one. And yeah, and then another one that I wanted to talk about is more like a snacky thing that I think, Georgia, as you've been going to Mallorca, you know about it, which is the coca de trampó.
Mi favorito.
Well, so
like
coca
pizza, you know.
That's it. So coca it can be any time dish, and it is a very thin base of dough, like pizza, similar. The way I will make it will be half portions of olive oil and the other half of beer. You won't get drunk with it, but beer, olive oil, and of course flour. That's the dough. And then in summer we will eat it with trampó. So coca de trampó. Trampó is this summery salad, which is just green capsicum, tomato being the main dish, and onion. So we'll have just that lovely salad dressed with olive oil and salt, and that goes on top of the dough in the oven. And that's really, really traditional. That'll be in every single home across the islands, even Ibiza or Menorca. And in winter, we make pretty much the same dough, but with more winter greens, silver beet, spring onion, parsley, and then in most of the cases, you'll find it with arengue, which is the, what's the name? Hammy fish? Hankin fish? The little anyway, you can put boccherones, you can put
Herring,
sardines.
herring.
Herring.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, really? I've never tried this. I guess I've never been to Mallorca in winter, but I've never tried this version.
Yeah, I mean, you can have it in summer, but it's more like wintry. It's yeah, and even though you eat it room temperature, it's more for the type of vegetables, I guess. And with fish, most of the times the ham fish, and yeah, that's another dish that is in every island. And of course, as everyone has been saying, every home, every restaurant, every town, every village will be making a different version. But that's how my grandma.
Version's the best.
That's it. My grandma's used to be the best as everyone else. So yeah, that's like a dough pizza, as you said. Even though I wouldn't like comparing it to pizza, but that's a good way for people to understand the look of it.
Well, because when I was there, I was always like, "This is amazing! I get to eat pizza for breakfast." Like when I was a kid, like this place is great,
That's it. Yes.
In Barcelona, they do one and they put like anchovies on it and olives, So it's basically pizza,
Yeah, it's just the dough, and then as I mentioned, freestyle. Everyone can put whatever they want. Yeah, and many, as I said, many seafood and fish dishes. But I think I'll go for the most traditional ones. The other one is the tumbet Mallorquin, which is a dish that it repeats the ingredients again and add the ingredients that everyone uses all around the country. The basics. I guess that's going back in the day where people couldn't access too many ingredients, but whatever they had in their gardens or in their veggie gardens. So this one tumbet is basically you cook all separately. You cook potatoes in olive oil, of course, will be more like shallow fried, I guess. So you cook potatoes, you cook a bit of red and green capsicum, a bit of eggplant, zucchini, and you are doing sort of layers. It's more like a Parmigiana sort of a style. So you do all different, cooked in olive oil, do the layers, and then you top it up with tomato sauce. So homemade tomato, maybe cooked slowly with some garlic and onion, and then you top it up. And that's the tumbet Mallorquin. It can be a dish, or it can be like a side to go with any meat, fish, whatever. We often eat it by itself with a fried egg on top.
Yeah, that's what my dad used to do. He used to always make this.
Yeah? Good.
And another dish he would do in Mallorca was just potatoes with green beans and like a bit of vinegar, Is that a typical Mallorquin dish?
No, we will often cook. I have to say, in the islands, we cook every time we do potatoes, like fried potatoes, as a side dish. We'll often cook them pretty much always with garlic.
Yeah.
In the same pan as you are frying, with, of course, extra virgin olive oil, the thinly sliced or diced whatever potatoes. You will always put garlic, smashed garlic, and they are delicious. And most of the time you will put either green pepper or red pepper with it. So that makes it a bit more interesting. So again, the same ingredients. And yeah, with the fried egg, the tumbet Mallorquin with the fried egg, is the number one.
So how do you spell it? Tumbet?
Tumbet, Tumbet.
Okay, tumbet.
Tumbet, which is basically, if you look in the center of Spain, would be like a pisto.
Okay.
Maybe without the potatoes, or it's like these cooked vegetables in olive oil, and yeah,
the fried egg on top. Wow.
Yeah,
fried egg on top.
That's so good. Oh my
Yes.
God. You know what? I am so hungry right now.
I think we are waiting for dinner.
Going along, I've been writing down. I'm like, oh, I'm going to make this, and then I'm like, oh, tumbet, like, oh, Mallorquin, like, oh, I've literally written all these things down, and now I want to cook.
But Georgia, I think you need to know also about the ensaimada mallorquina.
Oh, well.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Well, luckily.
Yeah, you explain. Yes. You can talk through.
Well, I'm not an expert. I've grew up eating it, but basically is a dough that they use the pork fats. Basically, that'll be the legal secret. It's a sweet And the way they make it is when the dough is about to rise, they sort of do it as a snail. So they start from the center and they are sort of wrapping it in circles. And it's more like a puff or spongy, between a puff and a spongy sort of cake. And they go as this big individually for breakfast, which is delicious, or they can go as that big. And often they cut it in the center, and they will fill it with, you know, cabello de ángel or jam, sobrasada. It is common too. Or yeah. So that's the number one sweet dish in Mallorca, which is very tasty. Sorry, maybe I didn't explain it very well, but it is more delicious than that.
It is. No, it sounds delicious, and it's got icing sugar on top.
It's got icing sugar on top, yeah.
You pull it apart, and it's like a really thin puff pastry, and you just pull it apart, and you get covered in icing sugar, and it kind of melts in your mouth.
But then, as Jorge was saying, my grandma's recipe will be the ensaimada. The dough won't be that sweet, and she will put little dots of sobrasada all over it. So that'll be like more like a savory sobrasada and ensaimada, and really delicious.
Yeah. I was gonna say, guys, that is very interesting that 10, 11, 12 people talking is the first dessert that we have taught.
You know what I want to say is, I wanted to say this when Kim was talking right at the beginning, and I was like, oh, I didn't mention it, but creme catalana is my favorite dish. I love it.
You know what, guys? I think we are gonna wrap it up here, but we need to come back one day and talk about desserts.
Only desserts.
Because this is something that we were talking at the beginning about how diverse Spain is. Although we share common ingredients, we are very, very different.
We should join forces and set up a Spanish restaurant all together here in Australia, all of us.
Why not?
I will be tasting the food.
I'm not Spanish, but let me help.
Thank you very, very, very much, Georgia, for your time.
Thank you.
You have been probably the best host we have ever got in a Zoom. Okay.
Of course.
Honestly, we really appreciate it, and well, for sure you will be invited in the next party. That's for sure.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you.
It was lovely to
Thank
hear
you
all
so
your
much.
stories.
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.